What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video, reacting to The Future of Amp Modeling by Taylor Danley. So what's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be reacting to The Future of Amp Modeling by Taylor Danley. Now, once again, I sort of reacted to one of his videos, just the back end about the Temu situation video that I put out, but I thought I'd actually react to one of Taylor's actual full-length videos this week. So if you have not already, please go and subscribe to Taylor. Fantastic guitar YouTuber. Once again, if you're subbed to me, chances are you're subbed to him. Does a lot of the same stuff that I do. A lot of stuff with amp modelers. Now, this video is a year old, and I have not watched that yet. So I intentionally chose this video because it says the future of amp modeling, and it's a year old. So we're going to get to see if any of Taylor's predictions came true. So again, go and make sure you subscribe to Taylor. I got the link in the description for the original video. Go and give that a like. Now let's get ourselves into it.
We need to talk about the future of amp modelers, and if I was going to bet, I would say that all of them end up incorporating this new technology, because if they don't, they're going to get left behind. What's up, friends? I'm glad to have you here. If you're new here, my name is Taylor, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about what I see on the horizon in the way of amp modeling from the likes of Line 6, Axe-Fx, and how that's going to affect other names in the industry, all the way down to the smaller manufacturers like NUX or Flamma. And this starts all the way back in 2020 with the Quad Cortex. Now, at the time, to me, I was really surprised that it took someone so long to start incorporating amp profiling or capturing, or however you want to refer to it. Let's just call it cloning, for lack of a better word, into their digital multi-effects units. Up to that point, we had EQ matching options like on the Mooer GE300 and on the Axe-Fx, but not true cloning. And that technology had been around for the better part of a decade when those products were released. I mean, consider the fact that the Kemper Profiler released during the lifespan of the Pod HD and the Axe-Fx Ultra, and is still relevant to this day. I think that says a lot, and I think it's going to come into play here with my predictions for what's coming this year and beyond. So since the Kemper and the Pod...
the Axe-Fx has been around for a while now. The Axe-Fx is by no means the new kid on the block. And I think I've said this before when talking about modeling. It's like anything else. So the technology has gotten better. The original pods, the Line 6 pods, the Bean, I absolutely hated the amp models and the overdrive sounds in those. I thought that the delays, the reverbs, the choruses, all those effects were good, but the amp modeling was just horrible in those. But like anything else, with time, the technology will improve. But yeah, the Axe-Fx is still relevant, and it's been around a bit.
Pod HD and the Axe-Fx Ultra, the technology has gotten better and better. The processors are getting faster, DSP memory is increasing, and these multi-effects units are getting more impressive. I mean, we've come a long way from these, right?
Yes.
So when the Quad Cortex was released, it really felt like, wow, someone is finally not staying in their own lane and is going to release a true multi-effects board with amp cloning capability in a sleek package, as Neural DSP is known for. And then we have the Helix, incorporating Helix native and sort of bridging the gap between the modeler and the Amp Sim app, which I think is really cool and much needed. Then we have the most recent implementation of this technology in the ToneX pedal. And if you missed my video on that, I'll link it, but the reason I'm really excited about ToneX is they sort of did this the other way around, where the app is the cloning device and the ToneX pedal is the device that you can use live. I think to date this is the best implementation and a good indicator of what we can expect coming down the pipe. The ToneX pedal is massively affordable by the standards of the other modelers that I've listed, coming in at only $400 US. It's kind of unreal what you can do with this, but due to its budget, it is extremely limited. We don't have a fancy screen and user interface, we don't have any effects aside from the reverb.
Yes, there's no effects on it at all except for, the reverb. Yeah, but it's a different animal. It's not like, let's say, even the most low rung of the Helix family, the Pod Go, which has amp modeling built into it and a ton of effects, which is just a few bucks more than this. But this is pretty much just amp modelers and profiling. It can do profiling. It's meant for profiling. I believe it has an effects loop. It's not trying to be the all-in-one unit, basically. It's completely its own thing. Just straight up amp modeler and profiling. That's it.
And compression, and it's very bare bones, but it really gives us insight into what we can expect to come, what I feel will be very soon. It's been a while since the bigger companies in the space have released flagship modelers, and Kemper is probably the most overdue for a new unit. The Helix is getting towards the end of its lifespan, and the same with the Headrush and even the Axe-Fx 3. And what I think is going to happen is that these products are going to start implementing this cloning or sampling, or however you want to refer to it, technology into their own units like the Tonex did.
Now, that may be, but from looking at things as they are now in 2024, that hasn't really happened just yet. And what I see happening from most of these companies is they don't usually want to release new hardware. They work on the firmware. So basically, and we all know for all the Helix stuff, whether you got an HX Stomp, a full-fledged Helix, a Helix Lite, or a Pod Go, they release firmware updates, which gives you X amount of new amps, X amount of new overdrives, effects, all of these companies are doing that because that way they just develop the software. They can still keep on pumping out the same hardware. If you got that hardware on an old version of the firmware, no problem. Plug on in, download the new firmware, upload it, bam, there you go. But to implement something like this with the Tonex, the capture, which actually makes it go from a modeler to a profiler, I don't think that hardly any companies are going to be able to do that without coming out with new hardware. That's going to take a lot more DSP, a lot more CPU in order to be able to do that. So Taylor may be right on the money, but we also got to think about the smaller ones, like he said, like Nu X, More, Valatin, Hot Tone, all those companies. They're trying to be the more budget-friendly ones. I'm not exactly sure that they're going to throw that technology into there, but we'll see.
I'm sure that they have all been looking at this since the release of the Quad Cortex, if not prior. So let's start with the Helix. I think the Helix is in the best spot right now personally. The UI and the experience is super intuitive already, and with its integration with the Helix native app, I could see some very small tweaks giving the Helix 2, or whatever they decide to call it, the biggest edge in this space. I mean, imagine being able to drag and drop your sampled amplifiers and presets between your plugins and your live unit like you can with the Tonex pedal, but having the full breadth and capability that something like the Line 6 Helix has. Line 6 has sort of always been the best all-arounder in this space, and I think that's going to really lend itself.
I wouldn't know firsthand, other than, watching some YouTube videos and having to take people like Taylor. Now, Taylor has dealt with pretty much every amp modeler out there. The high-end stuff like the Kempers, the Axe-Fx, all the Helix family, the HX Helix family of things, and the lower-end ones. I can't say that. He can, so I'll have to take his word for it. But yeah, the user interface does look really good. The editor does look good from what I've seen from it. But do the hardware units, as of this point, have enough DSP that you could do it with just a firmware upgrade to add the capture to it? I'm not sure. Maybe it could do that. I'm not sure.
To the next wave of modelers. The next is the Axe-Fx, and this one is a bit trickier. The Axe-Fx strengths have always been in super complex, highly accurate mathematical component modeling. This isn't something that I can see being reproduced for your typical consumer because it's so intricate and complex, like down to the tubes or the plate voltage and every little variable that you can think of, and I don't know how it could be implemented on their platform. If I can guess, they will come up with some way to have a sampled amp section in their units, but I don't think it will stack up to what's already built into the unit. What I really think that the Axe effects should focus on is keeping what makes them great, but improving their weakest aspect, which is the user interface. I personally think this thing needs a complete overhaul, and don't get me wrong, I understand why such a complex and deep piece of hardware is going to have some learning curves, but this thing could be implemented in a way that makes it not a nightmare to edit from the front panel. I mean, at bare minimum, giving us a companion app and Bluetooth connectivity would be a big step in the right direction.
Okay, so again, I don't have any hands-on experience with that unit, but anybody that's watched any of my videos knows that with multi-effects units and modelers, I love using the software interface. With all four of the ones that I've really delved into myself, I've done the Valiton GP100, the Valiton GP200, the Zoom Multi-Stomp MS60B, and the Zoom B14. All four of those, I've demoed out every single sound in them. And for all of them, if I was to have to do any editing or changing the sounds on the actual hardware units themselves, I would be lost. For all my editing, I sit down at my computer. I sit down with the guitar in the lap in front of the computer because the software editor is always so much more intuitive. So yeah, for Axe Effects not having a software editor, wow. I guess they're like, why bother? We're already an industry standard. So for me, that would kind of be a bit of a deal breaker. Yeah, having to use that user interface like he showed me, that's a big no-no. But hey, if you're already one of the top names, if it's selling, it's working, why would you put any investment in developing an app for it, I guess? And hey, that's just me.
And this should be easy enough, as it's already something you can do with a third-party app and Bluetooth MIDI connector.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that the Axe Effects is way behind on is they have no AmpSim app or
Third-party
plugins. If we're looking at the future where all of these things are fluid and they tie together, it's something that they're going to have to consider, in my opinion, to stay where they are in the space, which is on top. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe just making the best digital recreation of analog gear is enough. Only time will tell. The other one that I want to talk about is the Quad Cortex. The thing that makes this unit special is the ability to sample amps and other analog gear from the unit itself. If that exists in other units as a stock feature going forward, then the only thing that really separates it is the aesthetic and the user interface. But those could easily be matched by both Line 6 and Fractal in the next generation. And take this with a big grain of salt. This is only my casual observation, but maybe some people are starting to see the writing on the wall because I see a lot more Quad Cortexes popping up on Reverb lately. And as far as all of the other brands here, whether it's Mooer or Flamma or the Ampero or something like that, I think you can see the theme. Look, they all have their strengths and weaknesses, and the ones that are really going to pull ahead in the future are the ones that can tie together all of these aspects and give the end consumer the best experience possible. And I'm still very much hoping for a Tone X Pro pedal in the future because I think that they have the best framework to build off of at the moment. Now, I want to throw in this last thing as sort of a wish list item. It doesn't exist, and while some cool startup may be developing it at this moment, as far as I know, it only exists in my mind. But what I'm imagining as the perfect modeler in the future is some sort of primarily touchscreen device with a foot switch and knobs similar to the Quad Cortex, but that runs some sort of operating system like possibly Linux or a version of Windows that enables you to load up plugins and use them live. I've done demonstrations on this channel using my laptop and audio interface as an amplifier, and the results are really, really cool, but it's just not practical. Like, just imagine a unit.
That is an interesting idea. Okay, so you essentially want the amp modeler to be a mini PC with foot switches on it, basically. Okay, I guess that would kind of negate the use for a software interface, unless you wanted to use your keyboard and mouse, but I see what you're going with, but interesting. No, but just interesting. I haven't had quite time enough to process that yet.
Similar to the form factor of the Quad Cortex, but just with more screen real estate, that had a super processor in it and allowed you to load up multiple chains with multiple plugins. That would be amazing, and something that I bet we will get close to in the future. Maybe not this next generation, but one day. All right, so what do you guys think? I'm very curious to know what all of you would want in your dream modeling rig. Let me know down in the comments, and as always, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, dudes.
Wow, interesting. So yeah, you know what? He might be onto something there. Like most people recording at home aren't even using a modeler or anything like that. They're using plugins. Just, plug right into your interface, out into the DAW, use the plugins. So, yeah, basically a blank slate capture device that you can load plugins into and on. But, I have a feeling that a lot of, some companies are not going to want something that would be that open source because they wouldn't want you buying that piece of hardware and being able to use competitors' plugins. You know what I mean? That's my take on it, but I think Taylor might be in the right direction, but I just think, everyone's going to want to make things proprietary. They might have one of those, but it'll be, if it's Neural DSP, then it's only Neural DSP plugins that would be allowed on that, and so on and so forth. Whatever, vendor it may be. All right, everybody. So that was the future of amp modeling by Taylor Danley. Please go, if you're not subscribed already, to Taylor, and also go and give this original video, I left a link in the description, a like, and on this video, my video, leave a comment on what you'd like to see me reacting to next. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like, comment, and share. It doesn't cost a thing and would really help out the channel. Also, please subscribe to my other channel, GK Mac Music, for some live looping live streams with a side of jackassery, some original music, and some short content, also with a side of jackassery. If you'd like to help out the channel financially, you can buy some merch at the merch store, or you can become a channel member. As always, everyone, thanks so much for your continued support. Do what makes you happy.